Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. That's, it's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up? So many people live a life of what if. Go to school. Go to college. Get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams, with a safety net. Because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith. Because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, they're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona.
This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side.
Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak,
Oh my gosh!
despite the cost. There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list. But it's not impossible. There is a ticket to the other side of the fence. For those who want it bad enough, this is your chance. The 2020 SPEC MX-5 Challenge has visited two amazing facilities so far, Summit Point Motorsports Park and Virginia International Raceway. For round number 3 of the season, we head to a place that is as confusing as it is challenging. Why build a road course inside an oval? Well, because it's the most compact way to put on an entertaining event, and it's chaotic. Two things drivers who have the opportunity to kickstart their real-world racing career love to do. Well, tonight, we start round number 3 tonight for SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. But to finish first, Finian, you must first finish, and that's going to be really difficult tonight.
Yeah, dude, this is really, my eyebrow kind of raised a bit when I saw this track on the schedule for these guys to come here. But, now that we're here, it's going to be definitely an interesting race to watch these guys literally flying over the curbs around here. You can see right there in the seating shot those blue turtles that people affectionately like to call. These guys are going to absolutely be nailing those curves, trying to get every ounce of speed they can around this facility.
And we've got DJ Alessandrini, the 2019 SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge champion, with us here tonight. DJ, welcome back. The Charlotte Roval is a very unique challenge. We got 2 races on it tonight with these NC MX-5 Cup cars. Your thoughts on this challenging 2.28-mile racetrack?
I mean, the key to victory today is just going to be keeping those front fenders clean, so you're in it at the end. The passing's super tough. It's basically going to come down into that last chicane, so you got to nail the chicane on the back straight. And you might have to put the elbows out a little bit into that last chicane because there's really only room for one car going into it. So expect to see a little bit of chaos tonight.
Well, I want to go through the track map here, Finian, because we'll take a look at this 2.28-mile facility built at the Charlotte Oval. This track typically is a 1.5-mile, 4-turn oval in Charlotte, North Carolina, but let's take a look here. This is a 17-turn course with lots of elevation change in the middle, but it all starts with a left-hander and then another left-hander into turn number 2, 3 and 4, a double right-hand apex, heads into a short back straightaway.
Yeah, indeed. And that back straight, we're going to see guys maybe try to, if they get a good run out of turn 4, maybe make a move going down into turns 5, 6, and 7. A very much a rhythm section on the back half of the infield section. And then after that, you come back out through turn 8 and then on to turns 9 and 10, which would be NASCAR turn 1 and 2 onto the back straightaway.
And DJ, heading down into that chicane on the backstretch, it's different than it used to be. They've shortened it up. It's now just a left-right instead of a left-right or a left-right-right-left. So it's a lot more of a passing opportunity, a heavier braking zone. But that's going to be one of the more important corners, as well as the front straight chicane at the end of the lap.
Yeah, the thing you're going to have to watch out for trying to make a passing opportunity into that corner is you'll have to play nice. And if you're on the right side, it's going to be very easy for the guy on the left to just kind of give you a little bit of a boop. And then you're going to be serving a course cut penalty, which on this track is essentially going to end your race. So in my opinion, that's not the place that you would go to pass the car. The chicane ending the lap is the better chicane to try to make a passing opportunity through. There's a little bit more room for error there.
We're down to the racetrack now for qualifying. We've got about 5.5 minutes left in it. We're looking right now at that final chicane, Finney. You see, you mentioned the blue curbing. The Europeans call those things sausage curbs. The Americans affectionately call them, as you mentioned, turtles.
Yeah.
But the red and white ones aren't very nice to you either.
No, and typically you're supposed to stay off the blue curbs. It's the kind of intention of having the curbs there. And then, higher up GT machinery, you definitely do want to stay on those curves. It'll absolutely destroy your suspension. But for these guys, as you can see, every single car that went through frame hit the curbs. And I mean, again, that's going to give you speed. It's going to lower your lap time around here. And you need to be aggressive. However, being aggressive, especially through the chicanes, you got to be careful to not cut them, because you'll get a time penalty, and it's a very big time penalty if you do cut them.
So we've got 5 minutes left in qualifying there. You're looking at provisional pole sitter Ken Alseal in the number 94 car. While we're waiting for qualifying to conclude, we want to thank our sponsors for jumping on board to sponsor this event. Ricmotech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment is one of those sponsors. Each driver that wins these races gets a gift card to their store. So we want to appreciate their support. Level Up Racing School is one of the prize offering groups that will offer the season end prize to the champion, and they'll get a chance to kickstart their racing career. DJ, when everything clears up, at some point you'll get to climb in one of these cars, and I think that's an incredible opportunity for you.
Yeah, totally looking forward to dicing it up with the real world guys in SPEC MX-5 and show them what some video game nerds can do.
So at the end of the lap, Ken Ausiel's going to come across the line at 35.5. Is 35.414. That will keep him on top of the standings for now. Finian, you mentioned Nathan Saxon coming into the night. He's been incredibly quick all week long. He's got some real-world racing experience. He did an amazing practice lap earlier in the week. I think he's going to be probably the one to beat tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a driver we're going to need to watch. Had a really good showing last week at VIR, and that was actually his first start of the season. Missed some at points, so he's actually further down the point standings than I think he might actually need to be. He's already up in 13th despite only having 2 starts. Everyone around him has 4. So really strong showing from the 41. Still flexing his muscles here, up in 3rd place, but up ahead of him in the qualifying timesheets is Jonathan White. He's currently your points leader. Again, very early in the season to really talk about points, but we're now after 2 rounds in. You kind of start to get an idea of who the guys that are going to be up in the front. Definitely this 22 is trying to establish himself there, but Ken Ausiel currently still sitting on provisional pole.
So, once again, the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge is essentially a sim racing platform that mirrors the real-world SPEC MX-5 Challenge Series. This is brought to you with the iRacing Motorsport Simulation Service. They do an excellent job giving us a medium to play in here tonight. Jonathan White, some contact there at the exit of the back straight chicane. There's Thomas Bressi in the 24. And this is another driver I have my eyes on today, Finney, because we know Thomas Bressi is really active in other sim racing leagues, especially in the stock cars. Where do they come? Charlotte Roval. He's got experience at this track. He's going to be tough to beat, too.
Indeed. And already showing that he's pretty quick around here, 5th on the timesheets, and has driven this configuration quite a bit in stock cars. Looking at Paul Darling, the 55, currently back in 7th place.
So, DJ, we've got 2 races tonight, and I think this is a totally different track than we've seen the first 2 rounds. Summit Point and VIR, very well-respected club-level racing circuits, but this is something different entirely. This is very much akin to a street course. So how does that change your strategy tonight, if at all? Because you're not really going to get a lot of opportunity to draft. So how do you play this race any different than you did last week or last round at VIR?
So if you've been paying attention to the screen while we're just watching these guys finish up qualifying, they're playing a game of inches with the walls on corner entry and exit, and it's really the guy who's going to have the best shot at winning is the guy who can flirt with those inches, but again, keep the car clean for the duration of the race so they have a clean car to fight with at the end.
So you see the wall at the exit. There's the 23 car a little bit wide there at the exit of the back straightaway chicane. And this is a notable corner because if we take a look from down high above, you can see on the bottom right, just behind those billboards, the red, white, and blue striping. That's fair game here tonight,
yeah.
Finney. You can drive on that, but by the time that striping ends, you need to be above the white line that designates, or actually I guess here's the blue line tonight, that designates the apron of the racetrack, and you head into NASCAR turns 3 and 4. You have to be above, and that's to the left in this shot of that blue line, or else you can get yourself a penalty. There will be administrators watching this tonight to police that as you come out of these chicanes.
Yeah, I'm curious, how they're going to handle the situations where, a guy tries to make a move up the inside, you're running in behind a driver in front of you, you get a great run out of that backstretch chicane. You try to make a move to the inside, but the driver on the outside of you doesn't give you room and pinches you down there. So, in that regard, I would imagine that the driver pinching car to the inside will, maybe get the penalty. But we'll have to see how admins are going to handle that. Yeah, I've seen people try to squeeze guys out of that, keeping them pinched on that apron before. We'll see what's going to happen here tonight.
So we're going to line them up double file, and we got over 30 drivers here tonight, so it's going to be a bit crowded out there, I would imagine, DJ. So if you're starting mid-pack, how aggressive you're going to be? We know Chris Henn, the postman as he's called, in his number 33. We know he's going to be aggressive. He's currently 15th. What's his strategy going into this race, DJ?
I'm trying to put myself in Chris Henn's position right now. I think you pick up the easy spots that you can, but you don't really want to force anything because the attrition's going to be high. So you're just kind of hoping that the attrition plays in your favor. And like I said, just hopefully you're there at the end. But this track's going to be tough to pass on. Qualifying is super important right now. And it looks like Ken Ausiel, Jonathan White, and Nathan Saxon, your top 3, are putting themselves in a position for success tonight.
Also a nice spec map on that car
so
as well.
I should mention the gentleman that did all the paint schemes for this series, Stephen Burbage, put in a ton of time, volunteer time, to make all these paint schemes this season, and everybody's running some variant. You see a couple green variants there of the real-world SPEC MX-5 Challenge paint scheme. The drivers were allowed to manipulate it slightly, but for the most part, everyone's kind of on the same page. One of the drivers that manipulated it, Brian Sohn with Penguin RC Simulation, not a sponsor of this series, but he actually owns a company that does sim racing hardware. But if you're looking for more complete packages, hey, Rickmotech is a good place to go. You can find the links to all of those sponsors in the description below. Make sure you check them out while we're waiting for qualifying to conclude here. A minute 45 left as Paul Darling goes third quick, Finian.
Yeah, really solid job, and just went 3 thousandths of a second faster than Nathan Saxon. That's next to nothing as far as separation on the timesheets. Hartley is going to put himself in 6th as he finishes his attempt.
And this is a driver that DJ last week kind of came out of nowhere, didn't qualify very well at VIR, but ran really well. So has he kind of gotten his car in the right direction this week, do you think? Or is there more to it than that, and we still haven't quite seen what Hartley's got left in store?
The Miata drivers in other leagues I run, where I run against Hartley, they call him the scientist because he's a little bit of he's so calculated, and he's just the way I race against Hartley is to predict what he's going to do. Just think of what the absolute perfect decision is, and that's what he's going to do. And then you try to do something against that. But Hartley, he's so solid, man. Like, he's always going to make the right decision.
So 35 seconds left in qualifying. Everybody has exited the racetrack, so now we're down to nobody out here left, at least on the racetrack at the moment. So your provisional pole sitter for the time being, and it's going to be Ken Ausiel at the top of the board, Jonathan White in 2nd, Paul Darling 3rd, Nathan Saxon 4th, Luke Pfeiffer in 5th. Again, my name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian Dcunha and last year's champion DJ Alessandrini for the 3rd round of the 2020 SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge as we head to the Charlotte Roval, a 2.28 mile 17-turn road course, and the action begins now. It's time to go racing for the first round of the night. We got 2 of these races. The first one is just about to begin. Lap 1 going to be very chaotic. Turn 1 is a danger zone here, Finian. Real tight, big curb on the inside, and walls narrowing down on corner exit.
Yeah, especially that's where we kind of akin this place to street course, just with how close the walls are in some of these corners for these drivers, especially heading down through turns 1 and 2 there. I think really if we have a chance of a big wreck, it's going to be in between turns 1 and 2. A little bit of a short shoot through there, and I've seen in the past quite a few wrecks happen in that section of track. If there is a wreck, let me tell you, if you're in the back, there's nowhere for you to go. You pretty much have to come to a stop until it clears itself.
Yeah, that's going to be, traffic jams are going to be a problem tonight if we have a crash, especially on the opening lap. But let's take a look at our weather here tonight, DJ. Track surface temp 95 degrees. That's a little bit toasty.
It's as long as they're taking care of the front tires, it's going to be fine. But look at this. Do you think we could organize a Le Mans start where everybody runs to their Sebring with the way the cars are lined up right now?
Oh, we were discussing in a stock car series race a couple days ago that I'd like the ability to have, be able to walk around in iRacing, and also maybe have a rubber mount you can take to your opponent's car if you're upset with them after the race. But unfortunately, we can't do that. The drivers will get lined up in their car. Late afternoon here, so the sun will be low in the sky. Not going to be nighttime. We won't have to deal with lights or anything of the sort. But track surface temp, you see it dropping slightly, so we might see it cool off throughout the race here this evening. So we don't have a super long pace lap, so let's get started, Finney, with the starting lineup on the front row tonight. It's going to be Ken Ausiel out of Pennsylvania in his number 94. Jonathan White starts 2nd out of New York in his 22.
And moving on back to row number 2, Paul Darling, the 55 from Michigan, going to line up on the inside. Next to him, Nathan Saxon, the 41, going to line up in 4th.
Back in 5th place, Luke Pfeiffer's blue number 06. He'll start P5 out of California. Robert Hartley in 6th out of the Carolinas.
Back into the row 4, Thomas Bressie in the 24 going to line up on the inside lane. Next to him, Jesse Stevens in 8th in the 13 car.
In 9th place, Nick Del Campo in the number 15 out of New York State. Steve Ficacci, a New Jersey driver, in the number 51 car, starts 10th.
Moving back, we got Michael Borden in 11th in the 42 car. Next to him, Chris Taylor in the 53 going to line up in 12th.
In 13th place, Kurt Crum 07, and Mitchell Peak will start to his outside out of Canada in his 14th place, number 21.
Moving on back, we find Jack Sanchez in the 23, and next to him is going to be Chris N in the 33, lined up in 16th.
The Postman starts in row number 8. Row 9, Alexander Lekowitz in the 16 car starts 17th. Drew Reinhardt, 18th out of New Jersey in the 69 car.
Ryan Wagner is going to start in the 17 car in 19th. Next to him, Samuel Scott in the 98 in 20th.
In 21st, Esmael Basso in the number 40 out of California. Gustavo Purgato in the 11 car starts 22nd from Florida.
23rd is going to be Corentin Dubois in the 76 car. And 23rd, Kevin Zhu going to start in the 43 in 24th.
AJ Milner starts 25th in the number 85. Brian Shamelski's number 12 rolls off in 26th.
Back in 27 is going to be Max Bagman in the 89 and 27. Josh Caden now in the 97 in 28th.
In 29th place, Brian Sohn, the number 30 driver out of California. John D. Allen has experience in this series and Global MX-5 Challenge. He starts 30th.
Snodgrass in the 32nd position. I think that's going to round out our field.
That's pretty much it. There's race control back there, and that's all we have in the grid here tonight. We'll head through turn 5 and turn 6. DJ, a lot of elevation change here. Is that something you'll be concerned with the handling of your race car, or is it not significant enough to make a difference?
Oh, you'll be using it to your advantage, and obviously keeping track of where it's going to be a disadvantage. Like when you're coming onto the oval, the car compresses a lot. Where on the screen right now. And so you take a trajectory that normally would put you in the wall, but the banking of the track catches you, and then through turn 1 and 2, 3, 4, all those, it's on camber, off camber. You're definitely flirting with the track limits and what you're allowed to get away with through that entire section.
On board with Nathan Sachs, you can see the intense banking here, and you're not really going to have to lean on it a whole lot in 1 and 2. Turns 3 and 4, though, you're carrying a lot of speed. NASCAR turns 3 and 4. You're carrying a lot of speed out of there into that final chicane, and you're basically trying to pull it hard left and then get a run into the right-hander for that final chicane.
Speaking of the final chicane, too, I didn't really get a chance to talk about it a whole lot, but when these guys take the green, they're going to be taking it in the middle of that final chicane. They're not going to be cutting through there like they do in real life due to the way iRacing's set up, so they're going to have to start in the middle of that. It's going to be a little bit chaotic.
A little bit chaotic. It's going to be a whole lot chaotic. Yeah. We got 32 cars starting this race. They're going to be starting all the way back in NASCAR 4, so it's going to get really dicey on the opening lap. The first time we come down here on driver's left, you'll see those big bumble strips, as I call them, the bumblebee colored curbings. Way far to the inside. Don't go driver's left of those.
Yeah, you're going to
catch some air. Impressed. I'm going to be really impressed if this starts off real clean, because this is a really great opportunity to make up some spots, but it's also a really great opportunity to ruin your race. So it's tough. You got to play with the risk here.
Can't win it if you don't finish. And Ken Alseal starts on the front row. Green flag is about to drop here for what will be approximately a 13-lap race. Green flag flies. We're racing at the Charlotte Roval and SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge round number 3.
Oh, these guys are so good. Everybody.
I don't want to speak too soon.
Made it. Everybody made it, though.
Yeah, this is the part of the track I'm worried about the most, heading through turns 1 and 2 for the first time. Looks like for the most part we made it out clean, especially Ken Alseal got a fantastic start through that final chicane, trying to get ahead of the 22, Jonathan White.
So far, so good. There's a little bit of contact side by side with a few cars. Kurt Crum, I think, was one of those cars. Off the track is Michael Borden, just dipping the left sides off, but he'll continue. And nice, clean start. Really impressive, but Jonathan White is all over Ken Alseal now as they head through turns 5, 6, and 7, Finian.
And I can see them trying to follow each other on through in behind. Paul Darling under attack from Nathan Saxon in the 41. Against Saxon on the move forward, trying to get that third place spot from Darling, and a few groups of drivers starting to form up as well.
All right, DJ, now the run back to the back straightaway chicane. The first time jumping over the curbs. White and Alseal, they got almost a 2-car breakaway, but will that breakaway form, or do you think we're going to stay together as one pack?
The draft isn't as strong as you think it would be in these cars, so if John and Ken here can work together, they might be able to break away. Ken's got he's playing with inches there. Ken's feeling it tonight. I can tell just the way he's driving his car.
Oh, car spinning in the back.
Carnage.
Kevin Zhu, he's just gone around for a loop. He'll get it back rolling again. No harm, no foul there. But let's go back and quickly take a look at what actually caused that incident. I think he just got in here a little bit hot, Finian, on the outside. I don't think there was contact. There was a 17 to the inside, but he was way in front. Oh, was it the 40 car? It was Esmael Basso that got into him there, turned him around.
It's under review.
Already under review, so the administrator's already taken a look at that. They will be keeping everyone honest tonight, but Alseal, White, your leaders as they come through to complete lap number 1. Behind him, there's Robert Hartley. He's up to 4th. That's +2 for him so far, moving by Saxon.
Yeah, not completely clear. Saxon still is inside, going to try to force the 41 out of lane. Saxon not giving ABC, trying to make a dive back in turn 4, but can't get it done. It's going to be Hartley up 1 spot in a 4th.
And there's Thomas Bresci, DJ. I mentioned his stock car experience here at this particular racetrack. Do you think it's better to know the Miata more or the track more when you come to this sort of combination?
The Miata, being really comfortable with the car is extremely important here. 3 wide, oh man. But knowing the car is really important just because you're going to be placing it within an inch of those walls for the entire duration of the race. So just being comfortable with how the car falls off, how it's going to change throughout the duration of the race, I think that's the most important part.
All single filed out now. We're 3 minutes into this race so far, running aboard Nick Del Campo. He's got a run on Thomas Bresci, but Bresci's got a run on Jesse Stevens. And he's going to go to driver's right as they head down into the chicane for the second time today. And I believe Jesse Stevens, there's a little bit of front-to-rear contact there. Jesse Stevens got a baby on board. New baby here as within the last couple weeks. Oh, there's a big mess behind him. I hear some carnage and crashing, but I think we're all still straight for the most part.
I think that might have been guys just absolutely abusing the curbs. I think that might be the sounds we're hearing.
Well, the underside of those cars probably doesn't feel too good after this race, but Hartley now moving up to trying to get to Paul Darling in third, but he's got pressure from Saxon behind him, and DJ Saxon's a driver that's got some real-world experience. I'm sure that's going to come into play here towards the end of this, especially if they get racy up at the front.
Yeah, it's all about survival and just risk mitigation, and I mean, Saxon's really solid at mitigating the risk and just making sure he has a car at the end. I can't think of a race where Saxon put himself out of it, but hopefully that's not much of a commentator curse tonight. I'd feel bad if I did that to him.
Well, let's hope not as well, but it's House Seal, White still up at the front. Now back in 13th. There's a bit of a side-by-side battle. There's Chris Henn and Chris Taylor in the 53. That's the white and black car on the outside. To the inside is Mitchell Peak. We should remind you that the drivers with the white paint schemes are new to the series this season. The ones with the black paint schemes are returning drivers from the 2019 season. So Chris Taylor, new to this series this year, started 12th. He's dropped a couple spots so far and holding on to 14th by a hair over Mitchell Peak.
And the general trend has been the returning drivers more saturated towards the front, and the new drivers more saturated to the rear. But obviously, I mean, there's a driver in a white car, Ken Alciel, leading this race, so doing a really solid job. And even also up there is Nick Del Campo in the 15 in 9th.
He's closing in on Bresci here, DJ.
So Ishmael Beso did get a drive-through penalty for wiping Kevin Zhu into that chicane there.
Good to know. So penalty for Ismael Bassos, number 40. We just saw Bresci and Del Campo really extending those limits. We mentioned as soon as the paint stripes run out, you have to be above that blue line. They mentioned they're going to be very strict about that, and they're already being very, what's the word I want to use? They're being very judicious about how much of that extra runoff they're using on the inside. You got to be careful. Don't pick yourself up a penalty.
Up ahead, side-by-side action. Can't quite see who that is.
Paul Darling.
It's Paul Darling to the inside of Hartley, if I'm not mistaken. And they're going to make some contact. Wow, Hartley almost gets a piece of wall out of turn 2 down to turn 3. Hartley going to have an advantage to the inside. Darling goes way out wide. And here comes Saxon up the inside for 4th.
That was actually Hartley making a pass on Darling on the outside in turn number 1. That's a power move if I've ever seen one, DJ.
Yeah, that's gutsy, but I mean, Paul is definitely somebody you can trust, and Robert Hartley is going to definitely be taking notice of who you can trust and who you can't out there.
Darling Saxon still side by side, coming back onto the oval section. This is where Saxon's going to have a little bit of a disadvantage. You see him have to go out wide. He's going to be in the outside. We're going side by side here on the oval.
Yeah, and you saw that was Luke Pfeiffer in the blue and black car that went all the way up to the wall and a little bit of bump draft, but now he swings to the bottom. We were 3 wide on the oval for a second, and here comes Bresci to the inside. He'll take that opportunity.
Oh, no!
Pfeiffer hard across the racetrack into the outside wall, and a big crash on the straightaway here at the Roval, and he's out.
Oh man, that's really unusual to see a wreck on the straightaway.
Oh, Jesse Stevens got in there as well.
And I think that's Pfeiffer.
And that was Pfeiffer that hit the wall, but it's Borden, the other blue car. But let's go and look from up above. Was this Saxon or was this Pfeiffer? Oh, that's going to be tough. I'm not sure if I would want to rule on that. That's just 2 guys going for the same spot and kind of running out of space.
I mean, the real loser there is Jesse Stevens, who's really high in the points right now. I think he's tied for first.
Yeah, no, he's tied he's in a 3-way tie for 2nd place with Hartley and Darling. So his competitors are going to really benefit from him having a poor night. That's unfortunate for Stevens.
Whoa, and there's Ryan Wagoner on the front straightaway. He's way off the racetrack. I don't even know how you get down here, so let's take a look.
Place.
He just got loose off the last corner. That's a strange way to spin out a Miata.
Yeah, I think really these guys are just carrying so much speed, and especially going through that last chicane, coming back, turning hard onto the front straightaway. Get these guys a little bit loose. Speaking of loose,
there's Drew Reinhardt in the 69. Actually, excuse me, that's Lekowitz in the 16, and then Samuel Scott in the 98. That's the more seafoam green color. and Jack Sanchez in the 23 car. That's the more lime green on the inside. There are a lot of green cars back here. Gustavo Porgado as well. He started his race in 22nd. He's gained 3 spots to 19th.
And he's got Sam Scott ahead of him, then Jack Sanchez up ahead. Trying to chase both these cars down, all running 16th, 17th, 8th, and 19th.
So checking back in with our race leaders, though, Seal has not been able to drive away from Jonathan White. But DJ, I'm imagining that these guys are sort of working together, but Hartley is closing them in. He's gained a couple tenths and starting to reel those front 2 in.
Yeah, when you see Robert Hartley in your mirror, you're doing everything you can to keep that as small as possible.
And now into the final chicane, we've seen drivers be pretty aggressive, jumping these curbs to try to gain some time. 2 wheels up, and the other 2 wheels up as they head in there. And deeper in the field, we'll probably see more drivers get aggressive. There's Jesse Stevens still out there with a very damaged race car, but making it work for now.
No, missed the chicane, missed the entry by quite a bit. That's allowed the 21 of Mitchell Peak up the inside. Gonna clear him before they even get to turn 1 for 12th.
And right ahead of them, there's Steve Ficacci. He's run wide in turn 1. That'll let Kurt Crum and Chris Hannon through. And now Stevens wants back from Mitchell Peak as they head down into 3 and 4.
Maybe on the outside here, gonna be at a disadvantage. JC Peak gonna clear him by the time they get to turn 3.
Something's happening with Hartley right now.
Yeah, Hartley did. Ooh, he's got damage on his car there, DJ. Good spot. Let's go back and, I see it at the exit of...
Oh, no, this is actually before. I think he might have had something in turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think he got the wall in 1 and 2, but at the exit of 4 right here, he's going to track out. And he lost more time there. That's, yeah, he definitely got in the fence. And that could have also been at the exit of the final chicane as well. That's easy to get in the wall. Oh, but his car's damaged big time, though, DJ. He's got major damage.
He misjudged turn 1. He went hard into the wall. That's, oh man, that's really going to affect his race. It's driving a little sideways right now.
Now let's go back and take a look. This is Hartley as he came down, as soon as I can find him. Came down into turn number 1 and it was right on board here on the replay. As he came down into 1, misjudging it, you got to get this inside curb. Does he miss it here? Yeah, just misses the apex by an inch.
Oh, the understeer into the wall hard. That's pure concrete you're hitting, no safer barrier.
Yeah, and he's going to have to make that stick. Nathan Saxon, is he hitting pit lane here, DJ, and is this for a penalty?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I feel like this might have been a penalty, if anything, between his contact with him and that was Luke Pfeiffer.
Oh, that could be. They could have ruled that. I would be surprised if that was the case, but...
it says no action.
Interesting. All right. Well,
okay,
so...
then.
Not sure why Saxon's on pit lane, but Bresci now up to 4th. He's inside the top 5. Good run. And remember how we set up the grid for race 2? Your finishing order from race 1 specifies your starting position for race 2. So Bresci's in a good spot right now. I like where he is.
Yeah, again, that's a really strong run for the 24. Again, has some experience on this track. And even though this is a road course, you know, this is really only run for stock cars usually. You can see the other weird combo here and there, but typically run for stock cars. And again, Bresci, a lot of stock car experience, so he's able to get quite a bit of track time in comparison to some of these guys around this track. But currently dealing with Del Campo in the 15 behind.
Del Campo got mighty close to the wall at the exit of NASCAR 1. And DJ, that's there is definitely advantage to tracking out that far, I would think, but then you got to get all the way down the banking. So is it better to stay tight or to drift all the way out to the wall?
I mean, you want to use every inch of the racetrack for sure, and it looks like Nick Del Campo used a little bit more than every inch at some point because the right side of his car's a little banged up, kind of comparable to Hartley as well.
Oh, that's a big cut. Again, once the red, white, and blue runs out, you got to be above the blue line, and Bresci especially has been really taking that to its limit, I think.
I'm sure he probably might argue that he didn't want to come up just in case he got into contact with the 15, so we'll see.
True.
If the Evans show him mercy as we work through the final chicane. Missed the entry there by a little bit. That's going to give Del Campo a good run off the corner. They seem to have a look up the inside backs off of it, though, going down into 1.
Oh, these guys are savages right now.
Look at him fighting the wheel there, DJ. There's a lot of input, and he's wrenching on it. And you can be pretty aggressive with this car from what we've seen.
Yeah, but you can't be too aggressive because you need those tires at the end. The front tires really fall off on this car a lot, and especially with this track, you're working them a lot. And if you overwork them, they get too hot, they don't come back, and your pace is going to be a casualty because of that.
There's Alexander Lekowitz. He had a slowdown penalty for cutting the final chicane, just a bit too much curb on the inside.
And you saw how much he had to come almost next to a complete stop just to give out that time. That's what we were talking about, respecting the track limits. and making sure you don't get a cut course penalty because it'll cost you quite a bit of time. Speaking of time, Seal and White, a lot of time over Paul Darling, almost 3.5 second gap between second and third place.
Well, these two for 4th and 5th, they have not settled this yet, and I don't think they are going to work together very much either. They're too far back with only 7 minutes left to get really anywhere, so it's game on between these two.
And they got a decent amount of gap to the car in behind. That's Michael Borden in the 42, the blue and black car. Del Campo was struggling to get the car woe down.
And in behind Chris Henn and Kurt Crum, this is a battle for 7th.
Whoa, no!
Oh, no!
And Henn gets turned around by the 07 of Kurt Crum.
And he's going to pull right back into traffic. Careful with the blend, with the wall right there, but he'll get back rolling, drop down quite a ways. Well, let's go back and see, was there front to rear contact? Oh, yeah.
Kurt Crum's out.
I commentated cursed him with my brain because I was just thinking, wow, Chris is making a real good charge to the field, and then that happened.
Yeah.
So
And that's
I'll take the
potentially
blame
a
for that.
penalty going to the 07 of Kurt Crum.
That'll certainly be a penalty for avoidable contact there. But Chris Henn was frustrated last week after VIR was, I mentioned some days you're the bat, some days you're the ball. And last round at VIR, Chris Henn was the ball quite a bit, got knocked around, was pretty upset after that race at VIR. So I can't imagine he's very happy under the helmet right now. But the only thing he can do is get back moving and try to save this night, I guess.
And he has some decent pace. I mean, obviously there's a decent setback to him, but again, he's got a pretty fast car underneath him, so hopefully race 2 goes a little bit better for him.
At the front, Seal and White continue to run nose to tail. All right, DJ, now let's start getting in Jonathan White's head. We've got 6 minutes left in this race. I don't know if this track is quite as clear as to where you make the last lap pass as it is at other tracks. Where's the best place to pass it, and how long do you wait to give yourself opportunity to make up for maybe a mistake?
Jonathan White's the points leader right now, right?
I believe that's correct.
All right, so he's got a little wiggle room. Ken is definitely going to be a threat for the season. You got to be thinking about that as Jonathan White. You try to pressure Ken into a mistake, but you're not going to force anything because your finishing position for this race is going to be your gridded position for the next. So you can try to get Ken to make the mistake on his own, but getting up next to him is risky. You're going to have to be side by side through one of these chicanes. You get a cut through one of the chicanes, your race is basically over, and that means you lost a huge chunk of points. You got to think about the overall picture.
Here's a look at Nathan Saxon. He just went around. Oh, man, that was a big mess. This is a replay from a couple seconds ago. This is just a big mess. They came down. I think one of those cars, is that not the 07 of Kurt Crum?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, the 23 Sanchez dive on the inside. He was just a victim in that scenario. The lime green and black car to that kind of went cut the chicane there. Not sure who that was exactly.
There's well, one of them was Kurt Crum. The other was the 23 of Sanchez. Sanchez, I think, got into the back of Kurt Crum and sent him for a slide, but either way, that was kind of a messy corner. Less than 5 minutes remaining, though, up at the front for the race leaders as they come on through turn 8 and head back out on the NASCAR Oval. Here are two very damaged race cars, Mitchell Peak and Jesse Stevens, but they're trying to get something out of the night, and they've got Chris Taylor in behind him. He was back in 14th earlier. He's up to 9th now, so had a good run back forward in this field. Good start, top 10 for race 2.
Yeah, very consistent run for the 53 You see, he started in 12th, fell back as far as 14th, up into 9th now. Looking to get up to 7th, he's trying to chase down Stevens and Peak, and I can't imagine with the scrapes and bruises to the front of those cars, not completely great in the air by themselves.
There's the Team Esport racer car. That's Mitchell Peak, and Jesse Stevens right in behind him. We'll see if Stevens will maybe go for a pass, but both these cars have quite a bit of front-end damage. I'm sure they're looking forward to getting some fresh sheet metal on this car for the second race.
Ooh, up ahead, Bresci and Del Campo pretty close together, with Del Campo trying to swing out wide, maybe a dive down into the final chicane.
Here he comes.
Get it done.
He's going to try this again on exit maybe, and oh, that's a big jump. And right behind him, that's Michael Borden, and I thought he had some damage as Del Campo goes for a move down into turn 1.
Yeah, really roll the curves great through the final chicane, set that up beautifully down into turn 1.
Oh, that's
barely
tight.
Clear the 24.
Not quite. Bresci still got overlap just slightly.
Oh, and if he has any overlap into 3, they make contact.
And Del Campo locks up the rear tire. He's going to go for a bit of a slide, and Bresci goes back down the inside. Oh, they touch again.
They're getting physical here. Here, Borden.
I think he's mad. I think DJ's right.
Oh, they're all. I think they're all very mad with each other. And Borden arriving to the fight here. Curious what he's going to do, sitting in behind.
Oh man, they got really the elbows out there, DJ. But you're going to draw the ire from the admins and the race control if you do too much more than that. But I think they've got a score to settle as Del Campo puts pressure on the 24.
Man, Bressie hanging in there on the outside with an inch to spare and getting enough overlap to actually fight for that right-hander. That was really impressive from Thomas and Gutsy. Kudos to him.
Gutsy definitely got him the spot. He stays fourth. And this is only the difference between starting in row 2 for race 2 and starting in row 3. But Bressie's fighting for it pretty hard as they head down into the chicane. 2.5 minutes to go.
And I feel like Bressie, this might be one of his better tracks, and I think this is why we're seeing him trying to perform his best. Really solid top 5 run for him. So both these guys, again, really flirting with the apron.
At the front of the field, Hausiel has put some distance on Jonathan White, not a lot. They still kind of stay in lockstep right now, though.
I have a feeling we might see this end the way it's running at the moment. They're going to see both these guys be pretty cautious around each other, at least for this first race again, where they got a lot of stake for their starting position in the second race. Either one of them gets a penalty. However, at the end of the second race, there's not as much to lose directly. You could get a penalty in going to the next round, but it's a little bit less pressure for the rest of the night.
Yeah, so 2 laps to go for the race leaders. There's Jesse Stevens, Mitchell Peak, Chris Taylor, and Chris Henn all together as they come through turn 1. Sam Scott hits pit lane. Not sure if that could be.
Oh,
that was the other car.
Yes,
You're right. So
it
wasn't. I apologize to Jack Sanchez. It was the 98 of Sam Scott that was the driver that triggered that collision. So he'll hit pit lane as we go back to Bressie and Del Campo for 4th. Got enough action yet, DJ? I think race 2 is going to be just as good.
I think I'm sitting over here just super impressed with Ryan Cobb, the race steward. The moment that those two collided, a little notification comes up on screen. Car 15, warning, avoidable contact. Like, immediately. I don't even know how he did that quick.
He's pretty good.
I was going to say, he's had quite a bit of practice too last season, and definitely going to this, so he's been getting the job done. Great job that he does. He's going to
he's going to try to force it, but he didn't. He's going to move back to driver's right into the chicane and try to set up Bressie for corner exit. Big jump over the curbs.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do, setting up a run on corner exit here. You see.
Oh yeah, they're flirting with it. They're gonna get back up on the banking.
Shift, though, for the 24, lost a lot of time.
Del Campo set that up perfectly, though. He made him defend. He goes in wide. He's gonna get a better run out of that chicane. Now they'll be side by side into this next bit. Now, side by side through this next chicane is tricky. They'll have to give him some room out. He backs out. So I think that was his chance to get him.
I think for Del Campo, I was going to say he might have another shot setting up a run through the final chicane. He's not really going to have much.
These guys will be throwing hands after the race.
Yeah.
They're getting aggressive out there. While all this is going on for 4th, the race leaders have taken the white flag. They're coming through turn 4 right now, so we have to kind of keep our eye on this battle as well, because this is for the race win here. Half a lap left. Hausiel's led every one since the drop of the green, but Jonathan White, I think he might have something under his sleeve, or he might be fine with running second.
I mean, he can only really make a pass through the final chicane, or sorry, through the backstretch chicane, and then the entry of the final chicane. He has to get the pass done before the exit out, because the start-finish line is right there.
Ken is inch perfect through that last spot, giving Jonathan White nothing.
And it actually extended the lead by about a half a second, so that has fizzled for now. We'll jump back to Thomas Bressie and Del Campo, because this has not fizzled. Del Campo is still right there, and he's actually going to build a run. And this time, I don't think he's backing out, so Bressie better get ready to get defensive here.
Yeah, indeed. And it's really just a matter of what line do you pick. You see the inside, do you pull out to the outside? Bressie kind of in the middle of the track, and pull out to the outside, not give the 15 anything.
Strangely conservative there for the 15. I think he's setting up for the run to, whoa, big slide there. He caught the wall, and that's going to be it. That's all he had. As we go back to the front, because Ken Hausiel was perfect from the drop of the green to the very end. Checkered flag waving. Race 1 will go to Ken Hausiel. He'll start pole for race number 2 tonight as Jonathan White hops the turtles and heads back to second. There's Paul Darling, a lonely 3rd place tonight for race 1. Then Bressie and Del Campo, they'll come home 4th and 5th. Michael Borden made it through an early wreck. There's a big mess on the back straightaway. Saxon again crashed out.
Man.
You know, I'm taking blame for all the Saxon incidents, because I think I said earlier in the race that he normally doesn't get caught up in anything.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was Hartley there that they had contact with.
Uh-oh, and it's on the last lap. That might extend into the next race.
Yeah,
it certainly could.
Not ideal.
The other thing is the 41 did turn in, but I'm not sure if the 41 would or the 03 had overlap or not, so that's hard to call. We also saw another group of cars spinning in the background. One of those, I believe, was that this. Trying to see what the other 2 cars were that were at the back of this. Corentin Dubois in the 76. This is another issue that they had. Here's a look at this. He just was all over the place, and the 12 gets bumped from behind. and they have a bit of a stack up there as well. So I don't think that was really ideal. But race over. Let's head and take a look at our race results. Unofficial, of course. Ken Seal, your race winner, over 3/10 in front of Jonathan White. Paul Darling in third, then Thomas Bresci fourth, Del Campo in fifth. DJ, what a race. We get to do it all over again here in just a couple minutes.
And the top 3 cars all had clean fenders.
I think that's something to take away, something very important for the second race. Got to have clean fenders to finish first. You must first finish. That's the old racing saying. John D. Allen finished down in 30th place. I don't know how long he actually ended up running for. I don't think he actually took the green flag. So AJ Milner started the race, ran 1 lap, and came in. But he had issues with his shifter, is what I'm seeing. So he was unable to complete this race. We had a number of DNFs. Luke Pfeiffer. And actually, we only had 1 DNF. Luke Pfeiffer was the only one. Everyone else at least finished the race, whether they or not they were damaged or confused or upset.
And on the lead lap, too.
Absolutely. And look at Chris Henn and Mitchell Peak and Chris Taylor, all top 10 runs for those drivers. Strong run there. We're not done yet, though, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be gone for about 5 to 10 minutes for the start of race number 2, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back in just a few minutes. Welcome back live to Winding Road Magazine and SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. After a little bit of an extended stay away from the sim for a couple minutes while the server got put up, we are finally back for race number 2 of the night. Another 20-minute race here at the Charlotte Roval for round 3 of the season. Remember, these drivers are all competing in a season-long championship to win their opportunity to race a real SPEC MX-5 Challenge MX-5 Cup car. So we'll head down to the racetrack here. Warm-up is underway right now. DJ, the finishing order from race number 1 is how we're going to start race number 2, and the winner of race 1 was this man right here, Ken Alciel.
Yeah, Ken did a great job. He drove fast, clean laps the entire race. He did a great job in qualifying, and qualifying is super important, and we can basically count the last race as qualifying, so he's starting in the exact same place he started in the last race. And if I'm Ken Alciel right now, I'm going, this is a great opportunity for a huge chunk of points, because a lot of the big contenders in this series ran into issues last race.
And one of those being Robert Hartley, and he is currently second on the board in warm-up here. No real times have really been laid down yet, but we know Hartley's going to be good. The problem is he's going to be starting all the way at the back of the field, so that pretty much eliminates this entire round is basically a throwaway now, Finian. I mean, that's the implications that finishing poorly in race 1 does for you. If Hartley can run up inside the top 10, that's fine, but you got guys like Ken Alciel and Jonathan White, they're going to finish top 5 in both races potentially. You're going to be hurting in the points.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, based off the last race alone, Ken Alciel, Borden, should be, who are behind Hartley, should be jumping ahead of him. So he's got a lot of ground to make up, not only just from the points he lost, the valuable points he lost in race number 1, but also, you know, just getting up through the order in race number 2.
And this man right here, the 15 Nick Del Campo, he fought hard with Thomas Bresci in race number 1, DJ. They explored the limits of the track at the exit of the back straightaway chicane. Do you think that fight between those two is going to get overheated this race, or do you think they'll get in line and treat this as a whole new day?
I think they've had some time to cool off, but we'll have to see how they treat each other starting off this race, because remember, the race is going to start with 2 wide going through that first chicane, and really there's only room for 1 car in that chicane. You're going to have 15 rows of 2 trying to head through there just to kick off the start of the race. So let's see how they treat each other there. I think that will set the tone of the race.
There's Thomas Bresci, who was the other driver in that battle between himself and the 15 car. Again, he'll be starting in 4th place in this race, and he's not afraid to use the curbs, as you see him do right there. Hearing that Ismael Basso is having some computer issues, and we'll see if he can make it into the race. Some drivers that are looking for a bit of a better second race of the night, one of them being Kevin Zhu in the 43. He got looped around early looking for a rebound.
Yeah, got looped around on lap 1 on the backstretch chicane, so yeah, hoping that he gets a turn in fortune here, although he's going to be starting, I imagine, somewhere towards the back of the field. So he's got to be on his toes and be careful again through that first lap, because a lot of things can happen. We saw fairly clean first lap in race number 1. Interested in seeing if we can do the same for race number 2, though now that I say it out loud, I feel like I might have just jinxed it.
Yeah, I think you definitely just jinxed it. Other drivers we have to keep an eye on, as we mentioned before, Jesse Stevens in the number 13 had a little bit of damage in race 1 after some contact down the back straight. He was just a victim there. But he's got the baby on board sticker on the nose. He's a new father, and I think he's a new man coming into this series. He was really competitive last year, and I think this season, if he can just get focused and stay ahead of everybody else, he'll be in good shape. He needs to kind of clean up a little bit for the second race, and he didn't do anything wrong in race 1, just wrong place, wrong time.
You know, for the amount of damage Jesse Stevens had in that last race, for him to finish 7th or 8th or wherever he ended up, somewhere on the 4th row, that's a win. His car was trashed. I'm surprised he didn't get the meatball flag.
So 30 seconds left in warm-up here. Another 20-minute race. We saw the front 2 breakaway in race 1. Finian, do you think there might be a 3rd or 4th place car that can keep up with those front 2, or is it just a battle between Alciel and White tonight?
I definitely think we can. We saw that Alciel and White were able to break away from the pack pretty much from the get-go, and after that, they never really had to look back. So I think that if we can see the drivers in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and so on, if they can try to stick closer up with our top few drivers, I think they'll be able to keep in tow with them just with the draft itself. But again, they can't lose that draft, and I think that's going to be key.
We're looking at one of the things right now that, well, a couple of the things right now that were some of the biggest hazards. The wall at the exit of the back straightaway chicane, the curbing at the final chicane. That was, you know, we saw a lot of cars spin over there, which is not something I thought we'd see. I thought we'd see a lot more cut courses, but they've been running through there so fast on a corner exit, they're destabilizing their car and spinning out. So don't do that again. I think drivers have already learned the limits of their cars, and we'll probably see maybe less damage from those sort of things and more damage from car contact here as people's aggression picks up as we head back down to the racetrack for race number 2. Have a look at our weather here and look at the track temp now, DJ.
Yeah.
That's hot and toasty.
Yeah, as we saw in the last race, it's those front tires started to fall off, and that's, you know, the race was pretty clean in the beginning, and I think most of the incidents came from people just not adjusting to where their brake markers are they're changing throughout the race. And it's not a big surprise. It happens gradually. I think it just caught up to some drivers, and cars in front of them just basically just compounded the issue of them missing their brake markers slowly over time.
Taking a look at the grid as they line up in that chicane sequence, turns 16 and 17. We've got about 29 drivers lined up for this one. Ismael Basso, I'm trying to see if he has sorted his deal out. I don't see him in. Oh no, he is here. He is here. So he did make it to the grid. And we're gonna let the grid scroll on the bottom of the screen. We've already mentioned everybody tonight, so we're just gonna let that roll, and then you can, we'll not repeat it, you can read it. We'll head down into turn number 1 though, and Halseal and Jonathan White again on the front row as they were for the first race. Paul Darling, the wild card though, was pretty close to getting up there with the pace of those drivers, but he's got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah, he had the pace, but I think to maintain with them, and again, I think maybe needed, you know, the little, you know, push from the draft to keep him up in there. We saw he was kind of in no man's land, had a fairly quiet day in 3rd place. No cars really near him in the front or the back, so I think he might, if he can stick with the 22, I think he can definitely be a factor for the win in this race. And even for that matter, I think Bresci and Del Campo too might have a shot of it as well, depending on if they got enough pace in their machinery to keep up.
So on to the back straightaway between turns 4 and 5, and the run up the hill into turn 6. This is a really dynamic area of the racetrack, DJ, because you have a couple right-handers that lead into a couple left-handers. So is there any passing opportunity here in the infield, or do you save it more for the chicanes?
Only if they really make big mistakes. Any kind of fight through there is just gonna separate you from the people that's in front of the guy that you're fighting, and that's not really worth it. And remember, there were some incidents on the last lap. We got Ryan Wagoner with the end-of-line penalty and Robert Hartley with the end-of-line penalty. So those two drivers are going to be starting in last place.
That's big for Hartley. He wouldn't have started a whole lot better. It would have been 19th spot, but that's still a big issue for him. So he'll have to drop to the back.
You were talking about, you know, mitigating that points loss. You know, from race 1, starting back here in race 2. Or starting back in 19th in race 2 is already bad enough, and now starting even further down the order, it's just going to be even more work for him to do to get himself back up to the front, or as far as he can get. And again, just trying to make up points here. We only got 9 rounds in 18 races. It's not a whole lot when you get down to it, especially when you're competing up with guys that are leading constantly, winning constantly. You're finding yourself in the back of the order. It loses you a lot of points.
Where's our next round? Do you know off the top of your head? I haven't looked in a little while.
Double check me. 1 second.
Yep.
You know, if I was Robert Hartley, I don't think you go for points here. You just try to relax. Like, the night's already ruined, right? Like, it's already going to be a drop race. I think you just have a blast. You say, how many cars can I get through in this? Like, you just go out and have some fun, because there's not very often you get to start in the back of a pack in a competitive field like this and dice it up with all those guys.
You're right. It's going to be a lot of fun for him, at least. I'm sure he would rather be up front, but you make the most of what you have. Our next round will be at Watkins, Glen, home track for us. Thanks, Finian, for bringing that up as we head through NASCAR Turn 4 and 16 and 17 on the road course here as we begin our 20-minute race here in SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. Ken Halseal brings us down. Green flag flies. We're racing for SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge Round 3, Race 2.
Another great start from Ken Halseal, who's already stringing it out. Jonathan White right behind him again, and then a couple more car lengths back to Paul Darling, 2 wide for 4th place.
Yeah, Borden, an aggressive start. Started behind Del Campo and Bresci, almost got past both of them. down to turn 1, almost going to make contact through 3, and now also through turn 4. And you see Bresci have to slam on the brakes as Borden aggressively gets his way on by in a 4th.
Yeah, and there's Jesse Stevens back there in 7th, and the 15 going to move to driver's right, but back out and think better of it. They're all behind in Borden with a bit of a shot maybe there, or a little slide for the rear end of the 42. Bresci goes to driver's right, now swings back to the left, but he has to sit in line here and wait for a better opportunity to pass. Cars slipping and sliding there in the background. The 43, one of them, they're DJ. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it looks like mostly everybody's getting single file toward the front, so we're going to start seeing a little bit of separation. And if you're Jesse Stevens, you have to get past this fight right here because it's separating the group.
Into the back straightaway chicane for the first time. Gonna get really tight. No. Stevens spins in the middle of the field. It's gonna be a huge stack up. Everybody coming to a grinding halt trying to get around this. Stevens, just like that. Commentator curse DJ, he drives all the way to the back.
We need to lock you in a room where you can't see the rest of this race because you're taking these guys off like flies.
Well, give me a chance to defend myself. He put the baby on board thicker on the front of the car. Everybody knows you got to put it on the rear of the car. Nobody can read it when it's on the front.
There's a look. Was there contact maybe from the... Oh, there was. A bit of a touch from the 53. That would have been Chris Taylor. We're right on board with the 53 and see how close it really was. But that's huge for the 13.
You know, the line of cars behind him did such an amazing job avoiding Jesse.
They did a good job. There was a couple more drivers that just had an incident at the front straight chicane, but they've gotten it all turned around and going forward, so we're good there. But Steven's going to hit pit lane, service that car. You're right, though, DJ. They did a great job missing him. It could have been a whole lot worse, but it's not good, as White is taking the lead from Hauseal, and now Hauseal's defending from Paul Darling as they head up through 5, 6, and 7.
How did that happen?
Quickly, I can tell you that when we're watching the replay.
I bet Ken made a mistake. I think that's the only way that you get past people on this track. Like, you have to force the other driver into a mistake.
Yeah, I'm curious what Hauseal's going to do. Again, he's in a position where, you know, again, he's chasing Jonathan White, who is our points leader, looking to potentially extend that points lead coming out of tonight. And I'm curious to see how aggressive Hauseal's going to be to try to get that spot back on the 22, even though he's still looking at a really solid second place finish.
Big jumps over the curbs there, and so tight to the wall on corner exit. Getting back above that blue line as the rules permit. Meanwhile, Nathan Saxon and the 16 of Alexander Legowitz using every bit of the racetrack there through the chicane. Now here's Hauseal. Will he move to driver's right or will he stay in line?
Try to stay in line here. I think he might cooperate with the 22 here, that they can potentially pull a gap to Darling and Borden in behind, running 3rd and 4th.
And Del Campo's gotten through to 5th on Thomas Bresci, so move him up to that spot. Kevin Zhu, we're trying to recover from his early spin that he had in race 1. Really hot into the corner, and here comes Gustavo Purgato, Professor, up the inside of the 11. I think that's his nickname, I'd say, so that's what I've heard. As Zhu's going to cross him over into turn 1. Can't quite get down there. The curb is there preventing him from pulling that move. Now he looks into turn 2. Was there a touch there? That was tight.
Yeah, it really was tight going down into turn 3. Now it looks like Zhu can't quite make a move. He's going to have to back off for now. And behind there you see
Robert Hartley.
Hartley up into 17th.
Wow, already.
And it's gained about 12 spots in the early lap and a half that or 2 laps that we've completed so far. Meanwhile, Borden and Del Campo, they are side by side for a moment. And Del Campo sets him up for a pass. This is for 4th place. And again, look at Del Campo's car. Again, the white paint schemes are the new drivers to the series. The black ones are the ones from last season. And Del Campo is the only other driver inside the top 5 that has the white base layered scheme. You have to look all the way back to 9th to find another one. That's Chris Taylor in the 53. So Del Campo, really impressive in his 3rd round of SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge.
So I went back and figured out how Jonathan White got past Ken Hauseal, and Ken, he kind of blew the last chicane a little bit, and John White took that as an opportunity to send it up the inside of turn 1. So that might be the mistake that cost Ken the race, but we'll see if John's going to be able to deal with that pressure, because it's a little easier to hunt than to be hunted.
Chris Taylor hits pit lane, and I have to imagine this would be a penalty for the avoidable contact between him and the 13 of Jesse Stevens, who I think is done and out for the race, unfortunately. So that's going to be a hit for Chris Taylor. He was having a good night earlier, but here's Robert Hartley now up to 15th and looking for 14th now on the inside of Kevin Zhu into turn 1.
Going make a move on him, running him behind, and again, slow, steady progress for the 0-3, up into 15th, looking at 14th. Ooh, almost dove it down into turn 3. You see him trying to take a wider line here to set up a run out of turn 4 and on the straightaway.
I think Hartley's gonna try to not do anything silly right here, because if you look at the gap of the cars in front of him, this is basically going to be his race right now, so it's not worth spinning him and getting another penalty or something along those lines. So he's going to pass Chris when it makes the most amount of sense. Or is that Kevin in front of him?
Kevin Zhu in front of him.
Kevin, got it.
For the front runners, White and Househill, this is basically the reverse story of what we saw in race 1. Househill's got pretty solid runs here as they head to that final chicane. So, DJ, is it better for Ken to control this race in the front, or do you think sitting in the back is the way to go? We didn't see White be able to do anything with Ken in race 1 from the second spot, so I think you got to be leading this race. So, now that Ken knows that, do you think he'll try to force a pass here?
You can go about it two different ways. You can kind of try to pressure Jonathan White into a mistake and then take the lead for yourself and then just try to defend it as much as possible. You could sit behind and let your front tires have a little bit of extra bite toward the end of the race and then really bring the fight to Jonathan White. But those are two strategies you can use to get past him again, but really the better position is to be the guy in front, because it's way easier to defend on this track than to attack.
Ryan Wagoner under attack now from Chris Taylor, who has gone in and already served his penalty, so now he's already back inside the top 20, so still good get something out of this night. See Gustavo Purgato flirting with the wall at the exit of turn 1. He's got some slight damage on the nose of that car from some earlier contact. How about Drew Reinhardt? He's also had a run in, and there's the 41 of Saxon going on by.
Car's definitely seen some better days, so dealing with a severely damaged car on both ends. Got to continue on. But Saxon, decent recovery for him, up into 11th place.
Jack Sanchez is inside the top 10, and a driver that I thought would be running up maybe slightly better is Thomas Bressy. He's 6th best, but he doesn't quite have the pace of the drivers in front of him. Some of the ones are running mid to high 35s. He's in the mid to high 36s.
This run is pretty much looking like what we saw with Paul Darling. Kind of in no man's land. He's just off the end of Del Campo. Might have a chance to catch back up to him. Whoa, not with a line like that. Almost went flying to the safety barrier, but kept it off the wall.
And there is Steve Ficacci up in 9th. Sorry there, DJ, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, these cars are just taking so much blue curbing on that second to last chicane on the back straight. It's it honestly looks a little silly how high in the air they go.
Yeah, they're pretty gnarly. They're made of steel down there and bolted into the racetrack so that they can be removed for the oval racing around here every year. But they are pretty severe, because they want to basically keep drivers within track limits as best as possible, but without a whole lot in the way of suspension damage that you can. Look at the 23 car. We got to go back and look at that in slow motion. This is exactly what we're talking about. As you run down into the corners, you can be fairly aggressive on the curbs, and here's a look at Jack Sanchez down into turn number 1. Those big blue sausage curbs on the inside, hammers it. That's 4 tires in the air down there in turn 1.
When race cars fly.
That's got to feel great in the driver's seat.
It feels cool, especially when you don't have to pay for any broken pieces after the race.
Or vertebrae.
Here's 3rd place, Paul Darling and Michael Borden. Is there anything that they can do in the way of working together here, DJ, or is it a lost cause to go up and catch those front 2?
Borden can give Paul a little bit of a shove, but with the race kind of dwindling down into the halfway point, if that fight isn't resolved rather quickly, you're gonna, no matter how fast you are, you're not gonna give yourself enough time to chase down Jonathan White and Ken Husil.
Oh, they're going for a pass for the lead here. Househill? Well, it looked like he was. It was real tight.
Yeah, he was really tight all over the bumper. I mean, he's still not done. He's still all over the back of that 22.
He might see the gap back to Paul Darling here and say it's not worth bringing those other 2 into the fight. Like, I will for sure have 1 or 2 right now if I just play nice. Ooh, some chaos in the back straight chicane.
Martin Dubois, one of them in the 76, and I think it was maybe Brian Shabelsky and Kevin Zhu also involved. Here's a look at the issue on the back straight. There's Zhu on the inside in the 40th. Oh, he's way deep. And
man.
Now that's going to be a big penalty there. That was a little almost silly looking there. But I think he just got in the ABS, DJ, and once you're there, you don't have any more pedal travel, and he just couldn't stop.
Yeah, I mean, he's already came over the mic and apologized to him, so it was obviously just a mistake. And and you hate to see stuff like that. You know, Kevin's a nice guy, and he's probably pretty hard on himself right now.
Well, they were 3 wide for a second, and Del Campo got shuffled out of that mix while we were coming back from replay. Now we got to go watch this on replay. We're trying to keep up with it. It's so action-packed. Look at that out of turn number 6.
Yeah,
I'm wondering how Del Campo even got up there.
That's what I'm trying to wonder as well.
He's just been creeping up there slowly, a couple tenths a lap, and he's there now. As these 4 are now fighting for 3rd spot, Borden, Darling, and Thomas Bressi.
Oh, Del Campo trying to squeeze his way up the inside of Bressi.
Oh, no, Bressi drills the 55 the rear bumper. He sends him shortcutting.
Darling's going to get a massive penalty. You get a really big one for cutting this chicane.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, DJ, I don't know what the situation would be, but do you think if he got rear-ended and just blended back into traffic where he was before the contact, do you think they would penalize him for that?
They won't clear a black flag. Ryan Cobbs already came over the radio and said that he won't clear iRacing black flags for course cutting. But Paul Darling did not treat that course cut properly. You need to be really slow through the actual cutting part, and then you can speed up. It will limit the amount of cutting you had, and Paul kept his momentum through the cut. Right.
The other thing is that it looks like Thomas Bressi has dropped to the back here slightly as we got a battle for 5th in front of him. So Bressi's dropped backwards to try to give up that spot, but if we've seen how this typically goes, it doesn't matter if you give the spot back. You're still likely going to face the penalty.
And just to show how much time they lost, I think, about over 6 seconds with that cut course with Darling, and that just kind of shows you they don't mess around when they say don't cut that chicane, because you really can. You absolutely obliterates your run.
And again, I think it was actually a mistake for Bressi to give the spot back, because I doubt that's going to make a difference in the eyes of the race control. They're going to give him a penalty regardless. You might as well take it and run with it, and that way you're not giving up time that you're out of the goodness of your heart and the penalty.
Yeah, it cost him 6 seconds that you know, could have potentially bought him a few other spots. If he does get that penalty, we'll see if maybe Evans are a little bit light on the ruling, because he didn't have to give up quite a bit of time, so we'll see if...
And they could use some discretion. They might not penalize him because he gave the spot back, but this was actually a discussion in the GT Rivals thing that we do for SRO America last week. There was a very similar situation, and that was not cleared. And typically, in the real world, there is definitely some discretion played, but it's black and white, so we're going to see how it pans out here.
Yeah, it also depends on really who's admitting, so... Again, it's up to their discretion for administering a penalty here as the guys come across the line. It's going to be 7 minutes pretty much on the dot left to go in this race.
Yeah, and Ryan Cobb is an exceptional race control gentleman behind the scenes here tonight. He's so professional in what he does, and I imagine that he'll make the right decision. Sam Scott, hard in NASCAR 3. That's a big wreck here at the exit of the chicane, and this is going to be a big one.
Oh, no.
He's caught up in it.
No.
Here's a look. Oh, man. This was the 53 and the 16. They get together. Oh, man.
That's a lot of shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
That was just a couple small errors that all compounded into each other and took out Sam, unfortunately.
Yeah, the 53 just swerved to try to make it to that middle groove. And when he did that, his car slipped back to driver's left. Right here, he's moved back to the left and hooked the 16. Yeah. And what a mess that was. And for Sam Scott, just a victim, unfortunately. So is the 16 of Lekowitz. So they'll both have, actually all 3 of those cars will have a ton of damage.
So with all this chaos going on, it's kind of opened up Ken Husil to attack John White. So if Ken was waiting for fearing of the cars behind him, now's the time.
Whoa!
Jonathan, Husil, big slip through the chicane. Can't make that mistake a bunch of times here, DJ, but it's so crucial to get that last chicane right if you are going to wait to the last lap to have a run at it, because you got to nail that to have a run in the last chicane.
Yeah, I mean, what's unfortunate there is Jonathan White made a mistake, and then Ken Husil also made a mistake, so they kind of just canceled each other out there.
Into the final chicane now, 5.5 minutes to go. First and second, these two right here. It's almost 5 back to find Michael Borden in third, but he's actually going to make up probably a little bit of time on this lap. Oh, maybe not. Even with those front 2 fighting, he was still on pace with those front 2, so not able to close in at all.
Yeah, really seeing after Darling and Bressi left the fray that this group got separated quite a bit. Still haven't seen anything happen to Bressi yet, so...
Yeah, maybe he was granted a little bit of immunity there with giving up the spot, which in hindsight, maybe it's a good thing he gave the spot back. There's the 21. Oh, Paul Darling was way off.
Yeah, pulled out wide. Something might be wrong with his car. We'll see, he let both Peak and Bressi on by. Yeah, he just went wide in the corner. There was no incident, so I'm not sure.
This car might be a little crooked.
Could be. markings.
It looks a little loose on right-hand turns. Not sure.
Yeah, we're just trying to see if we can wait till he gets back straight.
That's kind
If I was Thomas Bresci, I don't give that spot back. I show no remorse. Like, things happen, and you might get slapped with a penalty, you might not. But if you are going to get slapped with a penalty, I'm under the assumption that it's going to happen no matter what, because unless the situation is where you bump that guy and it doesn't affect his race other than you getting in front of him and you give the guy the spot back, then you probably won't get a penalty. But the way that Bresci bumped Darling is he, then lost 2 spots because of the course cut that he received.
Yep. Meanwhile, for the lead battle into the final chicane, 22 leader and Kyle Heyer in second. He took a look at the exit of NASCAR 4. Is that maybe priming him for an opportunity in the next lap or lap after that here, Finian?
It could be. We've definitely seen in the past, if you can get a really solid run on the driver ahead of you through that final chicane, you can set yourself up for a pass into turn 1. Gonna be Heyer testing the waters here as we're getting down to the closing laps of this race.
Yeah, next time by will be 2 laps to go.
So, starting to run out of time. Interested to see what Heyer's got up his sleeve. It's pretty much them. They got 5 seconds, over 5 seconds, of a gap back towards 3rd place. So it's effectively amongst themselves for the win in this race.
Meanwhile, back in 7th place, Paul Darling and Chris Henn. They have... Oh, Chris Henn. Oh, he's got damage. This is brand new for the 33. Yeah, this is a lot of damage. I'm not sure where this was from. Maybe the chicane here, I'm going to get... Oh, this is from a while ago. I'm trying to look back and see when he got this damage. I can't seem to find it. Oh, I found some.
That probably didn't help.
Yeah, well, he already had the rear end all mashed up from something. And here's a look. This is about a lap ago at the exit of the final chicane. Boom. That's steering damage for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely right. I think that's why we're seeing him so slow. Rear end damage is not really going to do a whole lot. Oh, yeah.
Look at the steering wheel in this car.
It's a lot of wheel.
Oh, that's probably normal, guys.
Run it over the rumble strips and it'll straighten itself back out.
Yeah, honestly, that's the best. So hit on the other side of the car.
Well, he couldn't get it turned in.
I guarantee the thing does not turn left very well. Oh, it looks like it turns neither directions very well.
I think you might have made it worse.
I think it did get worse. Well, the postman sent it too hard and back to sender.
Hartley on the inside of him, actually just going to go on by, finally get himself in the top 10. So thanks for recovery for the 0-3.
Yeah, up to 10th from 30th, DJ. That's a really good run for Hartley.
Yeah, Hartley's a monster. It wasn't his night tonight, but he's definitely putting on a show right now.
Sure, Jack Sanchez is going to give up a spot to the 69 Drew Reinhardt. This has been, we knew this was going to, be some attrition, but look at all these cars all scuffed up and damaged. This is more than I would have thought.
It's like a demo derby.
A little bit. I mean, this is typically how Roval goes, but there's Hen's still hanging on. He's just going to try to nurse it to the finish. Yeah. He might have a meatball, though, but with 2 laps to go, I don't think he'll have to serve it.
Got to hold on for as long as he can.
I'm not sure if it matters. He's going to be last anyway by the time he gets back around. But how about a battle for 5th? Here's Mitchell Peak, Thomas Bresci, Paul Darling. And you can throw Nathan Saxon and Steve Ficacci in this group, but this is a great battle for P5. Oh, Bresci smacked the wall. We've seen anything so far tonight. Oh, yeah, already damaged.
Oh, man, Darling. Incidentally returning the favor. Yep. Oh, yeah, that's going to hurt.
Again, you can't beat these cars up on the right and left front tire. They just take too much damage.
That's literally turning right to go left.
That's not what Lightning McQueen meant.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Bresci's got to deal with this. Oh,
and
man.
Once again, just like race 1, the top 3 cars are the only, those are the cleanest cars on the track right now.
Oh, here's Ken Heyer to the inside, pass for the lead. He did it down to the final chicane. Big slide, here comes White back to the inside driver's left. White flag this time by for the race lead as they rumble down to turn 1. Heyer tried it, he crossed over. He's gonna try to do it again.
And a great fight brewing here. They're gonna be side by side. Heyer to the inside through turn 2.
Oh, big slide for the 22. Lateral slide as they come down into 3 and 4. Battle for the lead. Heyer's going to try maybe a pass into 4 here. No, he's going to tuck into line. That might have been his only opportunity, but he gave it a valiant effort there.
Not done yet. Heyer's really pushing the issue here as they go through turn 5 now. Wow.
What's important there is Ken's fighting him, so John's not comfortable. He's more prone to mistakes. You get the other driver's heart rate up. If you're the more calm driver, you feel like you're in control, even if you're behind. you have the advantage.
Here he comes. White's going to wash up a little bit at the exit. Oh, this is going to be a huge run for Halcyon. White's going to cover the bottom. Halcyon's going to go to driver's right. Here he comes. Maybe a little bit of side draft. Oh, this is going to be really tight.
It's the only thing you can really rely on here. Trying to get a run.
Oh, so close.
What I do if I'm Ken Husil right now is I don't try to stick on his outside into this corner. I try to make him defend just like he is right now.
Yeah, here he comes.
You break a little earlier. You give yourself room for a run.
Oh, it's perfect. He did it perfectly. Now he can't go to the left. He's going to have to go to the right, but here he comes. It's going to be a drag race in the final chicane here, Finian. He's got one opportunity left. If he can just hold the 22 down to the inside and maintain overlap, but the shorter way around is going to prevail. He's going to have to send it down into the corner if he doesn't have overlap, but he's got it.
He's got to park the bus in the corner here to hold off the 22. Here we go. Final chicane.
Here they go! Final chicane. Halcyon, big dive on the brakes. Is he going to cut the corner? He slides wide. Here comes White back to the inside. Halcyon has it at the line.
Wow,
by 67 thousandths of a second was the finish there. Behind him, Mitchell Peak and Paul Darling. Same thing. Final chicane for these guys. Peak on the outside.
He's going to miss it.
Oh, he missed it, and he's going to have to slow down more.
Oh, he's going to have to slow.
Run into the wall at the stripe.
Oh, who's going to beat it? And it's going to be Saxon that wins.
Man.
Everyone's just wrecking across the line.
Oh, my goodness.
Now it's a demo derby.
This looks like NASCAR.
It does look like NASCAR. Checkered flag out. And what a finish. I'm sure there'll be some discussions later. There's another one go back there. I think that's Brian Sohn to the inside of AJ Miller.
Try to throw it up. Oh!
Miller's in the fence. That's a Kyle Larson move there. Bouncing off the wall before you get to the stripe. And Milner will take 16th.
This is the best finish for the top 10, 2 by 2 by 2, all coming across the line, beating and banging. That was awesome.
I want to go back and watch this from the starter cam and watch everybody come on through. So here's the look. So their leaders are at the middle of your screen right now. There's Jesse Stevens, who ended up finishing in 26th night. There's your race leaders. They come into the corner. Halcyon does an excellent job defending, drag race to the line. He gets there. Look at third and fourth. These guys were pretty well taken care of here. Then we're going to fast forward a little bit. Here comes the next group of cars into the final chicane. This is for 5th place, Paul Darling and Mitchell Peak. And then behind him, look at Saxon and, wow, 51 of Fakashi.
Straight up wreck. Saxon going to get by Fakashi.
He's
and
Bressie backwards.
wrecking with Hartley.
Wow. What a finish. Let's go back and look at the race win, though, in slow motion to get a better idea of how Halcyon pulled it off. It was such a well-executed pass here, DJ. Got to the right, and he maintained so eloquently on the exit here. Look at this run.
And it looks like Ken Husil sent it, quote unquote, but really he might have been managing his front tire sitting behind Jonathan White as long as he did, and knew he would have a little something for him in that last chicane if he could just line up the pass. And that pass started on the back straight chicane by making John defend, taking less of an angle into that last chicane, gives Ken Husil the run necessary to get up next to him.
Yeah, and also they did a great job not overshooting the second part of the chicane as well. Able to keep a decent amount of speed off the corner, at least enough to beat the 22 at the line.
Yeah, I want to ride on board with the 22 of Jonathan White as he fought off the 94 into the final chicane here. There's the 94 on the inside. And then watch Jonathan White. He's going to see Halcyon on the right. He thinks he might be able to cross him over. And he almost had it. He took as much curb as he could, but wasn't quite close enough. What a great race there. Here's a look at your race results. But man, that was exciting. And Halcyon sweeps the night. Two races, 2 wins, pole, and just wasn't quite as easy in the second race, that's for sure, but he did an amazing job getting back to the front. Luke Pfeiffer finishes 11th, Ryan Wagner 13th. Other notables, Brian Sohn in 16th, Chris Henn. He pulls out an 18th place finish after all that drama. Jesse Stevens all the way down in 25th. That's going to hurt in the point standings for sure for him. But Nick Del Campo had a pretty solid night. He finishes in 4th. Thomas Bressie in 8th, so 2 top 10 runs for him. And Robert Hartley from the back of the grid to 9th there, DJ. A good run for him as well.
Yeah, Robert really showed what he's made of in that second race. He got all the way to 9th from 30th. That's really impressive. Ken Husil, obviously the winner for tonight. He put a huge amount of points on everyone. Jonathan White also, he might have lost the lead to Ken. I'm not entirely sure. Oh no, because Ken had a issue at Summit Point. So Jonathan White still probably the points leader. Mm-hmm. And
we got him.
Yeah,
here.
it's
we got him in the booth
John.
here. So hey John, what a night tonight! You had an excellent run there behind Ken Husil, and coming to the last corner though, things didn't quite go the way you wanted. Walk us through it.
Yeah, he was a lot faster than me on the second to last chicane, and that's how he kept catching back up to me. It seemed like most of the race I was able to get away from him in the first couple sectors, but he just nailed that chicane. And it seemed like towards the end he got kind of fed up, wanted to pass me. And second to last lap, he tried doing that, the same move he did the last lap. And I guess that was like a test move to see how it would play out in the end. And it doesn't seem like if you're in the middle of the race and you do that, it's not going to work because I'll just slow down and cross the lines. But it seems like at the end, I didn't have enough time to get to pass him back. So that was a really good move by him.
DJ, anything for Jonathan before we move on to Ken Alseal?
Yeah, John, did you get the sense that Ken was saving tires behind you for the race, or do you feel like he was barely hanging on, or what do you think was happening there mid-race?
No, I think he was chilling for the first half, and then towards the end, he wanted to start battling me.
Were your front tires falling off toward the end of the race?
Both of our front tires were falling off dramatically. I don't think I was overdriving that much, but the tires just on these cars tend to fall off pretty quickly, especially in warm weather.
Yep, gotcha. Well, good job, man. You two second places. You did a great job tonight.
Thanks, man.
All right, Jonathan White, second place in both races tonight. We'll see you next round, John. We'll have a good night.
See you guys.
All right, race winner in both races, Ken Alseal in the 94, got the job done in race 1, made it look pretty easy, but race 2, you had to work for it all the way down to the last corner on the last lap, jumping the curbs. Ken, walk me through that chase of the 22 into the last corner.
Oh man, that was pretty fun. It's always good racing in this league and with these cars. So, man, I made a mistake there on lap 1, let Jonathan by, and then it was try to conserve tires as much as possible. They fall off pretty quick. We were almost 2 seconds slower at the end of the race, something like that. Crazy. So we battled it out, and I worked it out on the white flag lap, and it was so close. I'm like, man, I need to send it harder, and I was so worried I was going to kill John in there because race 1 we pretty much agreed to not do anything too crazy to each other because that's your grid spot for race 2. So
we're taking a look at the point standings. Things should shuffle out to have you 13 back from Jonathan White, if I understood that correctly. So you've had a really good season so far. We head to Watkins Glen next round. That's a place I know you're pretty comfortable with. Are you now, do you consider yourself a serious championship contender? Because it seems like after tonight, you've got this figured out.
Yeah, I mean, I always figured I'd be in the hunt, so it's nice to be able to, putting together the pole lap tonight was a little bit of a surprise. There was a few guys this week, Nathan and some other guys had really, really good pace, and I was sort of surprised by the pole lap, but being able to put that stuff together and then a couple race wins, it's pretty confidence-inspiring.
DJ, anything for Ken before we move on here? It was a good run, Ken. Thank you for talking to us. We'll see if DJ wants to have a little chat.
Yeah, do you consider Watkins Glen one of your stronger tracks?
I haven't driven this car there yet, but in a lot of other cars, I've been pretty competitive there. So I'm looking forward to Watkins Glen. Should be a lot of fun.
In my races against you, you're always really tough to beat at Watkins Glen. So, not to put a target on Ken Huseal's back or anything, but I think you did that mostly yourself tonight by sweeping the entire event. But yeah, I think you're going to be something to reckon with at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, thanks. So, like you said, I've always been pretty good there. So.
All right. Hey, Ken, thanks for talking to us. Congratulations. 2 races, 2 wins tonight for the 94. Ken Alseal. We'll see you next time, Ken. Thanks for talking.
Thanks, guys.
It for the interviews tonight here, Finian, but we had 2 exceptional races at Charlotte Roval. We head to a more traditional road course in a couple weeks at Watkins Glen International, our home track. That's kind of a place we've been looking forward to. I know there is a slight potential for a schedule change for a couple different reasons, but as far as I know, Watkins Glen's the next up on the schedule. DJ, you like Watkins Glen? It's a good fit for the MX-5s, but it's more of a draft track like we saw with VIR last round. So how is that going to look different than today?
You're going to see a lot more strategy of how you're positioning your car compared to the other cars. Like, for example, if you're in second place, you're going to be trying to just defend the guy in first unless he's, holding you up where you're under attack a whole bunch. But yeah, you're going to see a lot more a game of high-speed chess. I think here at the Charlotte Roval, you're just kind of sending it just again and again, just trying to build as big of a gap as you can because the drafting is limited.
So there's lots to think about before we head into Watkins Glen next week. Again, thank you to our sponsors for allowing us to do these events, especially Rick Motec, Level Up Racing School, Winding Road Magazine, and Winding Road. And of course, SPEC MX-5 for giving us the opportunity to run this series. Again, if you're interested in us, we are SimTV Broadcasting. You can find us at the link in the video description. Congratulations, Ken Ausile, for sweeping both races tonight. We'll be back in 2 weeks for Watkins Glen International for round number 4 of the 2020 SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. My name is Kyle Heyer with Finian Dcunha and DJ Alessandrini. We'll see you next time for round 4 at Watkins Glen.